Welcome to AKHAND Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom. Let's discuss what AKHAND Yogi, an integrated spiritual scientist, the divine mathematician and artist. AKHAND Yogi. The prime objective of human life is to be AKHAND Yogi, to be in tune with the following three concepts. The 100 trillion cells of the human body, that is what Rigved is talking about. Then 100 billion neuron cells and 20,000 memory cells of all the 20,000. Imagine the memory, retention, intelligence and super consciousness. Then the voice of silence, the inner consciousness called Kundalini, Aditi or Antaratma. That is something you have to be in tune with. The voice of silence of the mother goddess Gayatri of the solar system or the spiral galaxy. And the voice of silence of the highest universal consciousness, Adi Prashakti, or the greater universe, into which right from sun to the pole star. Now let me share my own experiences of this life, first 7 lives, where intuition, intelligence and wisdom appears very clearly. That's a direct recognition of the universal consciousness. Now, first revelation of my life. We can choose the place of birth, parents, relatives, friends, associates, even profession before birth. Why? To comprehend the divine design of nature, and first direct observation of nature is primarily based on our reincarnations. Nothing happens in one life. Many lives have to be gone through, and memory of that is stored in Aditi or Antaratma or Kundalini, and with that we move on to the higher and higher level of consciousness. That's the first thing which I realized, and that is what made me choose my parents and other things very clearly, and the life of my choices to move on to DIVYANK is very, very clear. Now comes the second revelation of my life is the human brain takes 7 years to develop, form an integrated network system. So hence for the first 7 years, child should not be encouraged to do anything under formal training at all. Let him observe the entire universe as such and understand the way things are done, because the child up to 7th year is very receptive, very intelligent, is seeing things very, very clearly, and I am glad I was not put into school. I observed things as they are, and nobody taught me anything. I was just learning from others' behavior, of my parents, relatives, friends and others. And the difference between right and wrong was very clearly understood by me even as a small child. I knew what is right and what is wrong, and this is what I say, Antaratma, Aditi or Kundalini or this is very responsible to show you the perfect way. Now come to the question, is the choice of the place is very clear. Katra Vaishno Devi is on Trikuta mountains. Trikuta mountain has the three things, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh I see, and Mata Vaishno Devi temple is also a 3 pindis, Saraswati, Mahalakshmi and Mahakali. These 3 trinities taught me that divine design is there in Trikuta mountain and Mata Vaishno Devi, and that is what has been responsible to understand DIVYANK as such. 22 by 21 I related to Brahma and Saraswati, 10 I related to Vishnu and Lakshmi, and 0.34441 to Panchbhutas of Lord Shiva and Parvati as such, and together is the concept of maybe Dattatreya or goddess Durga to be revealed, and whole thing was very clearly revealed to me. This is what divine consciousness is. This is not a religion. This is divine design of nature. Now come to the fourth revelation, which I said. I had the pleasure of living in Kashmir during summer and be in Pahalgam and travel up to Amarnath cave to see the place very clearly. And I am very clear that Lord Shiva revealed the divine design of Tantra Vidya to goddess Parvati there only, and the process from Pahalgam to Amarnath cave shows that everything which is external should be dropped out and you should be in tune with universal consciousness. That is what the wisdom is. Maybe Tantra Vidya, which I am talking about, DIVYANK, laid foundation in this particular visit to Amarnath Yatra as such, as a reminder of the universal consciousness. Now, I insisted that my parents to initiate me into Gayatri Mantra as a child and Upanayanam, and that learning Gayatri Mantra and going through the process of Upanayanam has made me in tune with universal consciousness and understand that the greatest mantra of the world is Gayatri Mantra. And once you flow, then you understand right from Rig Ved to Yajurved to Upanishad, right up to AKHAND Gayatri Mantra, laid foundation only as a child before I was 7 years old. Now comes the second years. First 7 years was to learn and learned what I had learned in many lives before. Now come to think what going to learn from this life consciously one by one. That I can call the 7 years. Primary, secondary education. The first lesson which I learnt from Hitopadesh, Vidya Dadati Vinyam Vinyat Yati Patratam, Patratam Cha Dhanam Dharam Sa. The right education makes a person humble. Humble people can work together as unit. When the humble people, everyone works as a unit, there is abundance of money, there is righteousness, and there is sukh for everybody. Whole world can benefit from impeccable wisdom, Akhand Vidyashram only, and that will make everybody equal, and depending on their knowledge skills they can contribute to the universal consciousness as such. That's the first lesson which I learned as a child. Second lesson I learnt is Karma Yoga is very important. Unless until you work like Surya Karma, do your conscientious, truthfully, honestly, with integrity or the perfection, only then you can rise to higher and light. As a result, this shloka from Gita is very, very important to me. Then third thing is self-surrender. Every human being is a design of the universal consciousness, that feeling that we represent universal consciousness and support to the universal consciousness, stand with that. That is absolutely essential for everybody. So this is the Dvait philosophy. This is also Gyan, this is also Yoga. Completely put together is required, that we are created by the unity with such a perfection. Who created? Let's look for that, and that you need to surrender. You have to call nature as your guru, not human being as such. Then the fourth lesson, I think, whatever we learn to share with everybody and enjoy in the process. This is being given the knowledge to share with the world, and that will make you perfect human being. Then this is where the God is Gayatri, the knowledge comes. That is knowledge perfection. Only when more and more you share, more and more it grows. If you don't share, it reduces. And that is the beauty of Goddess Saraswati and Brahma as such, as far as knowledge is concerned. Now the fifth is a language. Every language of the world is born with inadequacy and ambiguity. Only language which is much closer to the perfection is Sanskrit, and only you learn that you need to go beyond that. That's another lesson which I learned as a child within the school itself. Then Sanskrit language is divine according to that, 52 letters. Nothing better than this, and very systematic, and as I have already explained, you can go into that and see. Now the sixth lesson, I think, the divine mathematics. All the knowledge of philosophy otherwise is restricted. Science of every language is mathematics. Mother of science is mathematics. Integrated science of everything is divine mathematics. And divine mathematics is DIVYANK. And within DIVYANK represents the first stage of creation, 10th stage of development, and maturation put together is seen at every stage, everywhere. This is what divine mathematics, which I am talking about, will be seeing part of it as we move on. We have already seen earlier. Then come to since languages are defect, so you should be in a position to convert divine mathematics into symbolic form. This is what I have done. The outer part is 22 by 21. There are 10 pentagons and 5 tetragons represent same DIVYANK as such, and that's beauty. Now comes the question. First academic excellence. I remember first 7 years my excellence in Katra school was superb. I literally got maximum marks, so record marks which are unheard of. But I also realized that I'm more like a divine mathematician, artist, rather than any other subject. But keeping mathematics and art form became my strength to understand all the subjects much better. And representation answers in every essay at short note was brilliant because this is what was required. And I think that was the lesson. First 7 years, excellent excellence. But there was a first turning point in my life. Nothing happens with a reason. Because when you are born with something to learn something, things would automatically happen. This is what I would say, destiny is there based on your earlier works. And once you flow with that work completely, you know. And in July 1964, my father had a paralytic from which he did not recover. He suffered on the left side and he could not speak. And he could not work thereafter. And that is the time I decide what I'm going to do with mathematics, abstract and otherwise. Let me become a doctor and treat everybody as if I'm treating my father and mother, and work more on preventive medicine rather than that. I don't find any reason why anybody should fall sick and die because of diseases. You should not die as such, you should remain immortal through that. And that was the first turning point, and that changed my life once for completely, from a mathematics to a medical profession. Now come to the question, secondary education in Jammu. I joined Jammu SRM school because the school was known to produce the highest record positions in the board of studies, and anyone who gets the first position there gets a national award, national scholarship, and also privileges an automatic nomination for engineering, medical profession and other professions automatically because of record marks. But then there was first challenge in my life was in 1965 itself. I had to literally fight with one teacher who was supposed to be awarded best award in Jammu and Kashmir, and basically, to tell you very frankly, corrupt Congress culture was at that particular stage, and he wanted everybody to follow him when he was actually useless character. And let me not go into detail. He literally made me realize that all the people, by and large, the teachers as such, are not as perfect as they should be. So maybe that's a turning point for me to realize now I have to take over and learn to be a master of my own learning by myself, not based on the subject in the books and other things. Copycat business is not going to help me. Now is a challenge for me to prove whatever the world is doing is defective, defective and defective. It has to be eliminated. It has to be replaced by that. And that was the first challenge which I got. And that is where I realized that I should meet myself, my independent, my universal consciousness, and flow with that, not with what has been taught. So as a result, ninth standard, he treated me untouchable, other thing, but I excelled so well without any assistance from anybody that I broke all the records in ninth standard as such. Then come to the second division was in 10th standard. I did not want to get into special sections or golden section. I said it's not the section which matters, it's not the teacher which matters, it is the student which matters. So I stayed in ordinary medical section, studied completely thanks to my teacher Suraj Prakash Rana. He showed me how to learn to be perfect and other thing, and I am grateful to him. As a result, it was a great team of he as a teacher, me as a student, and learning to become a perfect. As a result, I broke all the records in higher secondary core 10th standard, and this is the record of that 532 marks, and almost 28 marks more than the person who was next to me. Instantly, he was my student whom I taught, and nobody beyond that reached. I think that the record will never be broken, because hereafter getting 5 to 6% marks difference first and second position and third is unheard of. Then come to the question of third record breaking was in 1968 in higher secondary, where I answered the question including a medical person to get a position in a board examination when you're surrounded by medical student who can get 100% is almost impossible, or literally not possible. You got to keep both of them separately. But I'm glad as a medical person I was in one of the top positions, which helped me to reach much higher level. And that is what was, and as a result of divine thing, I was got into medical college as a nomination of one of the first candidates, much ahead of anybody else, and also got a national merit scholarship, and also for financial help scholarship of 110 rupees per month from Government of India, and also the educational loan scholar from Jammu and Kashmir government of 2000 rupees a year was more than enough for me to manage my education for 6 years in Madras Medical College very clearly. That was a turning point that God also, this education will give you the knowledge, give you the scholarship, and you don't need any money from anybody including your parents. That was the first lesson, that you have to be independent, self-sufficient, based on knowledge of impeccable wisdom. Now come to the question. This is again an exemplary conduct characters given to me after 3 years in Jammu school, and they put it as the boy is example by himself. There is no comparison at all. I think that laid a foundation for me, that even as a school student in right up to 8th standard in Katra I excel, then 9th, 10th and 11th 3 years I excel, then I have to excel for rest of my life beautifully thereafter. I think that was a turning point to come. Now you got to remain on top. You should flow up, no falling down. Then I got into Madras Medical College, but for first year pre-medical I was sent to Loyola College, and I'm glad that I was one of the very few persons who got center marks there, which is achieved grade of the highest D plus a distinction, double distinction, which is equivalent to 100% marks. Then coming to Madras Medical College from 1969 up to 1973 was amazing things. And that's the prestigious college made me realize how to be a perfect medical student as such. Learn A to Z. Let me make it very clear, maybe I was the only student in Madras Medical College who was more concentrated in studying, understanding what teachers are saying. Maybe only student who was mostly found in free time in library, not anywhere else. Now the Madras Medical Hostel, we were 4 students in 2 rooms. I think that was an excellent thing. Abdul Ahad Bhatt from Kashmir, Shibhushan Sharma from Jammu, Ranganathan from Tamil Nadu, and Ram Prasad from America. 4 of us, brilliant in every way, together worked as team, and I think we continue to remain brilliant friends even today after so many years. We are just like brothers, and I think that was a great foundation. But at the same time, I had non-aligned relationship with everybody, including us. Then come to the first greatest advice I got from Professor M.M. Cooper, who was the head of Department Anatomy. He said, know something of everything rather than everything of something. You will be a perfect human being. I think that was the first lesson as a teacher, that I have to know all the 64 arts and sciences completely. I cannot be a sectarian in thing, and I got to see the perfection within all the subjects together. Only that is going to make me an excellent student, excellent doctor, and preventive and otherwise. The next lesson was Department of Physiology, Professor A. Namachoyam, who was my teacher, who taught me neuroscience, and later he taught me, he was my guide for my PhD work. He is a brilliant, and he taught so beautifully how to be precise, concise, to the point, and how the teacher and the student work as unit, and as such move on. And I'm giving his testimonial. His stage, after my PhD work, he has given testimony. He has known me for 4 decades and said whole research of this subject is done by me single-handedly. He was only to supervise that I don't make any mistake. And A to Z is perfection. I think that was brilliant for any guide to say it is a student, student, and student. I am only a supervisor. Now come to the question of Padma Shri. Professor K. Ramachandran was a brilliant student even for his MBBS and MT. He is excellent in everything. He taught me how to learn medicine completely. And he has given the certificate which I have put there, that I was excellent in everywhere, and my relation with the students and subjects and patients and everybody was brilliant. I was very person who was fond of doing work for the love of it. I think I thank him for giving me the training, education, as well as credentials that I am the perfect medical doctor. Next person which comes to my case is Professor Kamakshi, who was the chief gynecologist. I was her student as well as her house surgeon, and incidentally I was both of them at the same time. So as a result, she taught me how to be a disciplined gynecologist obstetrician, and the training we got those three months was brilliant. Now let me tell you one thing which I really learned, how to understand perfect menstrual cycle. What was taught is given in this particular thing, which I realize is not at all perfect at all, and all the medical practitioners throughout the world except Shibhushan Sharma only know this as a medical, that 5 days of bleeding, 8 days of proliferation, ovulation and 30 days excretion is what is taught all over the world. Nobody has raised a question this particular thing is very defective. I'm glad I realized the menstrual cycle is connected with moon, and moon should have 29 and a half days, not 26 days or anything. And within 29 and a half days, what could be the perfect menstrual cycle is something which I have shown in this, and shown there are three bleeding. The whole process starts 3 days before bleeding, and what happened for 3 days, then 5 days, 8 days, ovulation, 8 days, 5 days, and 3 days. I think that's a turning point. Everyone in the world should understand this particular concept and see this is a perfect cycle revealed for the first time in the history of mankind by Shibhushan Sharma, and let this be, and this is based on DIVYANK and also universal consciousness. Now comes the question of completion of medical education. In December 1973 I finished. I was one of the first students who passed all the examination, and very good credential, perfect result. I got nominated for medical scholarship. I had to pass everything with a perfect without failing in one subject, and I think that was a brilliant completion. Then come to the question of 1 year of internship of 1964 January right up to December, divided into 4 parts of 3 months, and all the 12 months conscientiously worked to understand what I learned theory in those 5 years had to be put in practice, and I am glad that I could treat any patient, every patient, without even taking any consultation. As a matter of fact, my prescription, my regards were accepted by everybody without raising a single question. I think there's a turning point to put into practice, and that's where we learned many things which are helping me to lead to preventive medicine. My focus was how to not to let any patient suffer. That at the same time, during the same 1974, is the first time as an artist I designed this particular symbol, which is amazing. This was more than done 50 years ago. This made me realize the beauty of Mandukya Upanishad, where A is made of 7 parts, U is made of 7 parts, Ma is made of 7 parts, and there is a Turiya. And this is where the representation of 22 by 21, the first stage of creation, which is DIVYANK, was recognized more than 50 years back and put into this based on my experience of earlier lives. Then come to my post graduation. First 6 months I did surgery, general surgery, as a senior house surgeon, was brilliant. The next 3 years in ENT department post graduation, because I had nasal congestion as the issue, so I went to treat. But unfortunately, no treatment could help me to get rid of my problem, and today I don't have it. But how I learnt, we will talk as we move on. Then residential in plastic surgery to make sure that I know everything. Those 4 years from 75, 76, 77, 78 and right up to 79, those 5 years I think I learned to how to practice as a bloodless surgeon, very prompt, and do any surgery, other thing, would take it up without any rejection, without any problem. I think that's brilliant. But then I started as a general practice, Uma Clinic, named after my mother, from 1975 to 2005. 30 years I practiced, and it was only preventive medicine, and I'm glad to say not even one person I charged. I gave medicine, everything free, because I was treating every patient as my father and mother, and every subject was a research subject. I had to make sure what is the problem with that person and how the person can rectify the problem with food alone, with a good lifestyle, and not with medicine as such. I think that was a lovely experience. Then come to the question of 1979. With the help of maybe divine time had come that I have to learn how to make good quality medicines for the sake of my poor patients. That was prompted to make AKHAND Pharma and in 1979 itself. I ran that for 25 years and it was brilliant to understand how to be quality control in raw material, finished goods and final product, and I'm glad to say 25 years of service. Not even single product of AKHAND Pharma failed anywhere in the world. And meantime I designed the particular logo AKHAND and I have the copyright of our trademark AKHAND from 1982 in my name, and I'm the one who gets that title of AKHAND in my name as a ownership from 1980 itself. I think that is a brilliant divine design, and this and particular symbol on top is a tablet, capsule and drop and thing is in DIVYANK ratio or gone. That is very surprising. Now first 40 years beautifully in profession otherwise, maybe time had come that I have learned the external world completely from A to Z. Now it was time for me to understand from inside how to experience all that within my own self, a new turning point. And I was given a first second turning point was initiation into simplified Kundalini Yoga by Maharishi Vethathri. I think the change made me realize my Kundalini chakras, nadis within my physical body itself. And this is a picture which shows he made me look between the eyes between two, and the consultant I could experience Kundalini moving from upper abdomen, Manipura chakra, to the left of heart, Anhata, to Vishuddhi, to Ajna chakra. In the process, I knew what are the things, and all were within my physical body alone, nothing outside. That was amazing experience. Then this is experience which I am writing in this particular thing, and then this is what how I experienced the whole thing moving in the particular graphic presentation I have shown. Then he taught me how to do Turyatitam, concentrate 1 foot over the head and feel that, and I'm glad that I could do that. I could feel the movement of clockwise, anti-clockwise, 1 foot over and connected with the aura itself. I think that was brilliant in concentration. And then it made me realize that I did a review of literature to understand chakras, nadis and other things. And I am very sorry to say all the translations by different people were talking only 7 chakras, which was not true. When Satchakra Nirupana talks of only 6 goddesses and 6 chakras, not even 7 chakras. Now I realized that all the mistakes, and then I said if this is the case, it's not going to help me to read the books, and I did not know Sanskrit at given are the books original at that given moment of time. Nobody had, everybody was reading. Then I decided it's better that I only go for personal experience of yoga within my body the way I have been initiated into simplified Kundalini yoga, and then I went to Science School of Yoga for 4 months strength, 1 month in Yogasana, 1 month in Pranayam, 1 month in Tratakam, 1 month in meditation, and the results were phenomenal as such. And one of the experience was the teacher said, you concentrate on Muladhara Chakra, see a light there, then move on to Swadhisthana, move on to Manipura or Navi, then move on to Anhata and Vishuddhi. When I came to Vishuddhi Chakra in the throat itself, I had a jerk and I could see myself white back of light. As that was a turning experience of inside and outside becoming together. Maybe that is experience to understand that this is what is zero, shunya, zero, dark part inside and light outside, both circular and spherical, was a phenomenal experience. At given moment of time I realized this is what Rigveda is all about. This is what Shunya is. That is what zero. And all the Brahmins had experienced that within, inside and outside as such, and it is not given by any other person outside other than the yogis or sages or Brahmins or Akhand Bharat. Now the question comes up, the Kundalini Yoga I learnt Nida Pingla Sushma Nadi I could experience in 1973. I think it was phenomenal. I learnt, after learning from yoga, I did experiment with pranayam and other things, increase the energy level, and I could experience as I moved on. But meantime I realized it is not 6 chakras or 7 chakras. There are 10 chakras within the human body itself, and that is the picture which I have given it. Then comes to the question of December 1973. I had gone to Bangalore, given by Swami Sukhadananda program. This was a training 4 days program. This was phenomenal growth, and the same picture I have used for AKHAND, and you can see the light around my body and on my head. I think that was turning point. How you can see the light with your skin itself was amazing with open, but that made me realize that there is much more to yoga rather than Patanjali Yoga's Ashtanga Yoga. That realized that 6 chakras and the reptilian brain was inside is something which I realized as a neuroscientist, that homeostasis is with the autonomic nervous system, which is core within sensory and motor component in this, right from Mooladhara to Ajna chakra or brain stem. This is the concentration which Sat chakra Nirupana is talking about, not talking about anything external. Now with that I realized that after breaking Brahma Granthi and went Antaratma or Kundalini came into Brahmanadi, within that I internalized and experienced that how it rises from Mooladhara and then gets into Brahmanadi, which is central canal, and then rises up to ventricles of the brain, and that Antaratma becomes centralized, that is internalized, that is real yoga as such. Once that happens, then only integration takes place. This is an experience I got in 1994. Now comes to this, I have realized that the Ida, Pingala, Sushmana, Nadi as such. Then there is Satchakra Nirupana. Second thing I realized thereafter is this. Within Sushmana Nadi you have Vani Nadi, which is subdural space. Then you have Surya Nadi, which is white matter. Then Chandran Nadi, which is the grey matter. When this Brahma Nadi, all that I could see in medical science and particularly neuroanatomy, I thought that was phenomenal. That Satchakra Nirupana is so beautiful that you have Ida and Pingala are two sympathetic charts. Central is vertebral column. Within Sushmana you have Vani Nadi. Within that you have Surya Nadi. Within that Chandra Nadi. Within that Brahma Nadi. And within ventricle. All what is there I could experience, and I could experience within. I think that was phenomenal. This is where I would like to say, person who wants to experience that should be a pakka vegetarian. No smoking, no drinking, nothing at all which can reduce your sensory component or motor component or autonomic component in any form. No drugs as such, and only pure vegetarian. No alcohol, absolutely nothing which can dampen, excite or reduce at all. Now comes to the question of 1973 I met, and 1970 we applied. From 94 I started doing pilot studies to experience my own self in the Madras University, Madras Medical College, as well as Chetpet Hospital. And once that is done, I realized for next 2 years there were pilot studies to realize there was no changes in other parameters. Only change which I found was in brain electrical. I could produce alpha frequency after opening eye, maybe the first person who consciously is able to do. So as a result, Yoga, Kundalini Yoga took a new shape, and I started, we will concentrate on EEG with eyes open also, and then concentrate on different parts and see what things are all about. And with that, this time, and now I'm talking about normal EEG of a person is 10.5 Hertz from the posterior part of the brain when mind is at rest and eyes are closed. Rest of the brain does not have alpha frequency. On thinking it is disappeared and goes for theta beta, and after opening it is never an alpha. But I am able to produce. That was a phenomenal change, unusual change, but that turned this research into totally a different thing for everybody who was connected with me, my research as such. Now that this was the pilot study, and now I am showing the two EEGs. One EEG before in 93, you can see that there is no difference. The first one is with eyes closed, you can see the alphas. Very moment I open, there are no alphas at all. It's my EEG. 94 or 95, you can see that the alpha frequency. I open the eyes, you can see the changes, and you can see the alpha appearing again soon after. I think within 2 years to that stage was a very phenomenal. How from 10.5 Hertz I have come to slowly coming down from 10 to 9, etc., and sun. And now today I am able to produce 8 hertz, same frequency in all the parts of the brain. You can call it 16, 32, 64, or even up to 1004. It is only 8 hertz, 8 hertz, 8 hertz, and uniform spindles with eyes open, which has never been done by anybody in the world till today, to the best of my knowledge, not recorded. I would like everybody to try and see whether they can do it. Then come to the question, since I could do it, I came to the consciousness that there is something more than that. So I asked why I am able to do, I am not able to do, and nobody else is able to do. That is where I got connected with the voice of silence of my Antaratma within the self. And then said, okay, you have come back home wonderfully well. Now you are going to start the journey of mathematics and geometry as such. You make a charitable trust called AKHAND Foundation, which I did on 3rd October Vijayadashmi 1995, registered it. And after that I was asked, made the particular logo. I made this particular logo and I was told this is the graphic presentation of Gayatri Mantra. And I was brilliant to that. And then I was asked to, third instruction was to improvise this, keeping my other experiences of light around inside chakras. Now keeping those things and modified that step by step. And this was the form which was formed, and this was the form which was made into book form in 2002 as an AKHAND and essence of universal consciousness. Now this is the picture which is done very clearly in 2002 after my PhD work in that, and I think what I produced and produced a result in EAG was phenomenal by and large. The really, and this was also the picture which I was asked. You have made me understand the graphic presentation of Gayatri, Dattatreya, etc. Also a semi-animate form. Now if you can make me do inanimate form, just mathematics and geometry, nothing other than that, then I was taken to this particular thing, and that was phenomenal. That also made me realize the science of yoga as well as Sanskrit, as well as whole consciousness of intelligence of thing. And this becomes a higher chakra, Vigyan chakra, for beyond the Avijఞā which I had experienced earlier. Now this stage was phenomenal. Then come to the question of slowly over a period I realized that there are other chakras. Understanding that has come to this particular picture, and I realized that actually 10 chakras are associated 10 heavenly bodies in the solar system, also 10 suns in the spiral galaxy. I think that was phenomenal to realize that Aham Brahmasmi, me, and solar system, Brahmand and Mahabrahmand, all are identical. I think that was a brilliant realization. Then come to the unfolding of DIVYANK. If this is the case, this is experience, then there should be divine mathematics. And that is the thing which I realized from one shloka called Tat Tvamasi. Everything is identical. If Tat, divine nature, and everything is identical, there should be divine mathematics. And what is the divine mathematics? I started searching for that. And that is where I realized over a period that 22 by 21 is very clearly a stage in Ved, Upanishads and spoken word already. And 10 stages of development was already known as a Dasavatara. Only thing completion was not at all known as such, and that led to unfolding of DIVYANK step by step. Let me explain how I learned that. How did I make DIVYANK rectangle? In this particular picture you can see on top I made a square of 100 into 100, divided in two parts, connected that, and using Pythagorean theorem I found what could be the perfect DIVYANK. So 100 into 161.8034 was very simple thing for me to do, and I am surprised nobody has ever done that in the history of mankind till Shivbhushan Sharma. Is very surprising to me, because there is nothing complicated. It's just a simple mathematics, mental mathematics. I think that was a phenomenal part. Now I know the value of DIVYANK rectangle, which is divine experience with which spiral galaxy and everything is made, is only 100 into 161.8034. Now come to the question of understanding know the picture. So I tried another how many stages are there. So that new number comes up is 100 and 161. There is a difference of 61.80. That number came. With that number I started making this particular one is a 100 by 100 is that, and semicircle. Second thing is from 100 is 61.8034. Then similarly divided, other thing started coming down. Within 10 stages I come to very close to 1, and more than that was not. So its confirmation of 10 stages of development was very clear in this. Then come to the question of further, if the 22 by 21 is this, the orbit is there, how many orbits could fit into this particular thing was 10, and there is something little more than that left, which I could not figure it out with this particular thing. That needed to, and that took a long time. By the time I wrote the book AKHAND, An Essence of Consciousness, 22 by 21 to the power of 10 was very clear, and I wrote that very clearly. What is after that? From that it took me for another 12-13 years to come to the stage when I came to Chettinad University, started working with Professor Govindarajulu, and sat for 2-3 years based on that, and that I'm going to reveal it. And with it I realized that it is only 0.34419 is thing. 2 days work finally gave the perfect thing DIVYANK ratio as a Shivank as a 0.34419, which also adds up to 21. As a result, I realized the whole thing is so simple, but you need to work consensually over a period with experience. I think that was a phenomenal by and large. And having come to that, I showed the perfect divine design of infinity number is 61.8034. Everything is designed in this particular thing. I think once this is understood, we know very well how a AKHAND yogi can really see the self experience within solar system, spiral galaxy, as the universe as such. I think right up to spiral galaxy, this particular picture is very clear. DIVYANK up to that, and that's it. And I have represented this particular picture now with eyes closed, it is 8.5 hertz. With eyes open, it is 8. I think that is phenomenal, very close to what Schumann resonance valve is talking about, universal consciousness or Akash Kosh. I think that was phenomenal. And coming to this stage, I think that's enough for the day. Thank you very much.